planned, so it's extra special that you guys are here. Before we get started, can we please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if we can just keep standing, Deborah's going to lead us in prayer this morning.
We don't do Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Well, good morning. We can bow our heads for a moment of prayer. Father God, Father God, Father God, once more and again, a few of your humble servants are called together in your most holy name. Father God, I pray that this meeting goes as you would have it to go. But Father God, the one thing that I want to come out of this meeting is the fact that we all, as Americans, as adults, as Christians, we've got to stand for our children. Amen. Dear Lord, I just ask that you get the demons out and that you put your people in place so that we can save our babies. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen.
All right, guys. So as you guys know, here at the Menudo Club, we understand that it's time for major changes. And that is why we are here today, so that we can find ways to improve ourselves, our community, through networking, information, and new partnerships. We ask that all of you continue inviting your friends, your family, and neighbors to our monthly Saturday Menudo Club. There may be some changes for our May Menudo Club. It's still going to be the third Saturday of May, but we're thinking about possibly doing a barbecue at my house. So, outdoor barbecue. So, we'll post things as it gets closer, and we'll just keep you guys informed. I'm going to actually tag on what Deborah just said about our babies. We have the KDISD will be having their elections coming up in May. Early voting actually starts on Tuesday. So I thought it was very important to have speakers from both Katie and Cypher coming up and just keeping us informed of everything that's going on in the schools. Years ago you would see things in the news and you would think, that's not going to happen here in Texas. It is happening in Texas now. So we just need to be very alert. We need to stay informed, and we have two wonderful speakers today that are going to just remind us of when the elections are, of everything that's going on in their school districts. Our first speaker is Dr. Natalie Blasingame. Natalie is actually an immigrant from South Africa. She started her career 33 years ago as a bilingual third grade teacher. After retiring, Natalie decided to run for the Cypress ISD school board. Today, Natalie is working hard against woke, anti-biblical indoctrination, prioritizing safety, and implementing programs that ensure all our children are college, career, and life ready when they graduate. So please give a round of applause to Natalie.
Good morning, or buenos dias. I know it's very confusing, that these articles have come out that act like we hate as conservatives, right? And when you take stuff out of textbooks that tell kids to hate themselves, hate America, hate family basically, and you just remove leave such biased curriculum out of textbooks that you just must hate diversity, right? Because it's all about DEI. I think I am diversity. I'm literally African American. I'm not black, and I would never pretend to have lived the history of black people in this country. I think MLK is a hero, and one of my favorite songs is Glory from Selma, because it just speaks to, like, with the old man's wisdom and the young people's energy. And that's what we're about. I'm also a bilingual teacher. Like, y'all are no bilingual teachers who speak Afrikaans in the schools of Texas. I'm bilingual in Spanish. I am a bilingual, biliterate citizen, and I fight for that for everyone as a bilingual teacher, and I've served largely Latino communities in my schools for 32 years. As a 32-year educator, I was a bilingual teacher, an assistant principal, an associate superintendent. I supervised high schools and all sorts of programs as an assistant superintendent. And so I know education backwards and forwards. And I was part of this frog in the water all these years, right? Like where we were there just letting it all happen. Letting it all happen. And when I fight for fight for conservative and Christian principles, oh, they're just these old-fashioned people who want prayer in school. I never saw prayer in school. I was born in 1979, and then I was in South Africa. I was born in 1970, and in 79 I came from South Africa. So some day where school actually had prayer in it, that's something before my time even. So I'm not fighting for some glory day I saw. No, I'm fighting for what I see is wrong because the schools got shut down. And some of that unrighteous root was right here in Harris County when, what's that woman's name again? Madeline Murray O'Hare. Did y'all know she was a Harris County employee?
Yes.
So we have something to take care of right here. She was a Harris County employee. That woman took her out of school, and effectively for the last 40 years, we have 2 generations of kids where we have secular humanism running through our schools. We have no way to tear it down. We have people like me who are not dumb, who love kids and care, sitting in the system, letting it rot around us, letting the water heat up, and it got so hot that finally everyone woke up, right? And I've raised a kid, she just graduated from Langham Creek High School, she's at UT Austin as a freshman, and wow, am I getting another education in what's woke. Woo, I knew it, but it's worse than we think, people, it's worse than we think. But I'm just gonna talk about our K-12 system for now, because that's my current assignment, right? Actually, no, I'm gonna try to make up there at UT as much as I can as well. But this 40-year plan was so effective. Satan's not stupid. Satan is, he's the God of this world, and he is God's highest angel. We didn't think he was going to come here and play a stupid plan. We've been stupid. His plan was brilliant, and we've been stupid to give our kids over into our school system. Could you think of a more efficient way to do it? Seriously. Okay, let me think of a plan. How can I get the kids to Deborah's point? How can I take these kids of America, right? Okay, I'm going to have something mandated by the law. In fact, I'm going to pay people to make sure they get there, right? We get paid on attendance. I'm going to shove them into that thing. I'm going to make sure that the law says you as a parent don't even have a choice. And before even school choice, and I'll talk about that a little bit, you were like, it is a monopoly. You will pay your taxes to us, and you will send your kids to us, and they must attend or we'll take you to court. And so a few parents got wise, just in small numbers, right? Homeschool, private, whatever it might be. But it was still brilliant. So now I'm also going to slowly but surely take your views away. For example, this textbook thing. Even me, a 32-year educator, I've now been on the school board going to my fourth year. I didn't even realize this textbook scam and how it is literally to keep you blind and dumb to what's going on in our textbooks. If you want to see the book, you have to make an appointment. I had to ask legal counsel if when I want to go defend the stuff we took out of the textbooks, am I even allowed to print that little part of the textbook that some companies proprietary copyrighted information? We kept our stupid, we kept it hidden. This all happened and we couldn't see it and we allowed it. And so now what happened was we all woke up. And to me, it's exciting, very exciting, but we're also not moving fast enough for me, right? So we had, I started running for the school board in 2015. So 15, 17, and 19. And this was like, no one even knew school boards were happening. Maybe George and Deborah did, maybe a few people, Carrie, she's in the schools, but it wasn't a machine out here that was created when some disruptive conservatives got on the school board, and George probably can tell this history way better, and I hope I'm getting it right, you correct me if I'm not. There were a few people that started causing a little bit of noise, like don't build these berry centers for taxpayer dollars and don't do this, and so they did not like that. So David Anthony and my neighbor around the corner and other people I did some doctoral work with that had named people with the names on schools, created this whole setup where they would shut down the elections by having a body that would feed people in, the CLC. They would choose the most yes people, the ones who would pass a bond for them, got the nod to be on the board. They'd raise dollars from your vendors to the school district, not illegally, but amorally. They would write and say it's time to pay up. And principals from the offices of all these engineering firms, architect firms, the people who collect our delinquent taxes, all these people, they would all send in their little individual checks at just under the threshold, so they wouldn't have to say, and they raised $60,000. So the first time I ran, by the grace of God alone, I got 48.2% of the vote. And I had some money from an organization people thought was kind of left, so I left that behind, but I also had a precinct chair who I knew from church, and so she just worked the precinct chairs. That's the first time I saw the power of the precinct chair. The power of the precinct chair. Betty, how many of you know Betty Bourne Avery? Do you know Betty Avery? Okay. Betty went to church with me. I didn't even know her well. One day I hear her and Richard Feinberg, he was another one in conservative stuff out here. And they were talking in the lobby, and I said, I'm interested in the school board, because God had put it in my heart from long ago. And I thought it was when I was old and retired. So guess what? I'm retired, but somehow I'm not old. But anyway, I knew I had a calling, right? So I mentioned to them, said, we'll vet you. So of course they vetted my voting record. I've never voted anything but Republican, and I've voted in primary, so check me out. Okay, they said, we'll talk to you. So Betty just went on a quiet campaign to talk to precinct chairs. 48.2% of the vote against the president of the Cypress Chamber of Commerce, that was president of the board. And so it was like a shot in the dark. So they just doubled down and got more money the next year, but now they raised $80,000. People, this has not been an open system out here, and that's because we were asleep, right? There was no partisan thing on our school board elections. It was not partisan, it was non-partisan, right? Which sounds kind of good until you realize what happened. It's just an amalgamation of averaging out, a melding to the middle, a caving to the agenda, and Satan had his field day in our schools. So basically, that first time, I say that because so 15, 17, 19, I started to say, hey, this is not right. What's happening in the schools on lots of levels. What's happening academically, morally, ethically, anti all the stuff, right? So I feel like a canary in the coal mine, but then COVID happened, right? And everyone saw the stuff in your own living rooms, in your own kids' rooms. You were like, whoa, everyone woke up. So the fourth run in 2020, would that go like to 21? Yeah, boy, time flies. That sounds like it was yesterday, it's not. And in 21, now people woke up, and so they asked me, hey, you want to run again? I was praying about it. I'm like, Lord, do I need to run again? And in fact, even they were going to have the Cypress Tea Party meeting, and I should have given an answer, and finally I was like, I don't know, I still don't know. So I go to the meeting, oh my goodness. Richard Johnson's up at the front speaking about racism, basically, CRT. We have the Concerned Women for America with little things on the table about we need to have God in school. We had every organization, of course, our local ones I knew, and I was like, I almost couldn't sit in my seat. The Holy Spirit was so thick for me. I literally, I'm having an out-of-body experience in this room because everyone had finally woken up. The room was packed, and I had spoken there and been an attendant for years, and it was never a big crowd. And there it was, just full. So I'm like, okay, it's time. So that was a bit of a battle because they had already been looking for a slate, and so I will give some people who took some hits on the head about putting people into the race afterwards. But they interviewed me as a candidate, and we didn't have a forum process back then, which was a way for us to come together to see the right candidates and work together, not against each other. And so that was a little bit rough, but anyway, ended up here, but it's because we finally had woken up and become partisan about it. So I don't love it. I never led with my politics as an urban educator. I worked at HISD A-League Spring Branch. I was not in a charter system in the heart of Houston with the largest nonprofit, Baker Ripley. But I've always believed what I believe, because what I believe doesn't change because it's the truth, because it's the Bible, right? And so my principles, but then it was interesting having to get political, and I hate that it's true, but guess what? That's even biblical in the end times, right? Yeah. It says we'll get hotter and hotter and colder and colder, there'll be separations. This is what, unfortunately, is biblical. This was how the end times were going to go down. So here we are, so we fight to win, okay? And so I feel like the fight is ours to win, and I do believe we're winning on many levels, okay? So I'll share some of that, but we have a lot more to do, and that's why I will run again. I'm submit myself to the forum process, okay? Thank you. I do not want to represent you and be up there on the school board if I'm not doing the work you asked me to do, if I'm not doing what you said I should do, if I'm not having an effect, if I'm not effective. You know, that's like saying the person who represents me in the house right now, in my neighborhood, like local Stick Texas House, that's like saying that person just has a right to just be back in there, even though I think they stood against rules that I believe in for our party, that they should just be reelected because they're incumbents. No. I don't just ask you to vote for me because I'm the incumbent. Put me up there, put me through the ringer, ask me the questions, challenge me, and either vote me in or vote me out. None of my ego is in this, y'all. I did this for 32 years. I could be paid to do this. I'm here because I have to come above the system in order to change the system, and mostly in the area of faith, okay? So I will tell you all about what we need to do as far as the work, and even challenge this club. I felt like I got a challenge for your club this morning when I asked you what to talk about. So I'll give you that afterwards, but I'll tell you what my assignment is, personally. Ooh, I'm excited about her challenge. Discipline myself. You won't let me forget, will you? Okay. So for me, the reason, obviously education is my life's work, and I didn't study it at college. I studied advertising, but there was this little thing called Teach for America, and it's a huge Peace Corps for education, and has it gone so left? Oh, y'all, it is so left. It is so left. That's because they're all younger than me, and this is 40 years of schooling where that was allowed, right? And people were taught to think that way. So, but it's a really powerful group of people. But anyway, I was the first Teach for America person out of the University of Texas back in 1992, and I had known pretty much that's what I wanted to do, even though I was finishing my degree. And I was an RA in the dorm, and I would skip class to go to substitute teach in East Austin so that I would have a chance to really understand class and make sure what it was. So anyway, I ended up teaching here in Houston. I thought I was going to LA or New York for a 2-year adventure. God had other plans, so I ended up being a teacher right here in Houston ISD, and a bilingual teacher at that. And I had, so I know I've gone through 3 appraisal systems, these high stakes accountability systems. I know what that does to us. I know what it takes to take schools, like when schools are failing and kids can't read, and building bilingual programs. That's the thing that's funny, is that my actual expertise that I had is in bilingual and ESL education, but really bilingual education, allowing kids to have a foundation of their native language to build their English upon and come out bilingual and biliterate, which is additive education, not subtractive. I wrote my dissertation even on the issue of how we serve low-income Latino students with success when they stay long-term in the system. So I know a lot about education. I've done it. I've really had to be the girl with accountability sitting on my shoulder and kick butt at it. Not because I did it, because God did it with me, because we needed to do it for the kids. Amen. So educationally, I'm not talking to you about as much as that today, except to tell you that we have done something actually so earth-shaking. Maybe Deborah in the room gets it, and maybe no one else even gets it yet. As a board, it took us about 3 years, and Christine and I served with Julie Heineman on a committee called ASVP. We have finally created a strategic plan that literally has us measuring if kids can read on level or not, has the district giving a report to us every other month to say, these kids who left last year not reading on level, yeah, they're moving or they're not moving. They're making progress or they're not making progress. And not in some boogity little level that you as a parent can't even understand, right? Your kid reads at a K. Your kid reads at 1140 Lexile. Your kid reads at a blah, 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 blah DRA level. No, we're saying your kid's in 3rd grade, they're reading at 2nd grade first month. So that means they're in 3rd grade's 8th month. They're a year and blank months behind. We've got to get them moving. So we now have goals that are tracking that, and we're tracking academic, math will come behind, literacy has to be first. And so we are making tracks on education, so don't get me wrong when I tell you my assignment. I know the educational game well, I know it, because I've done it, I've had to do it, I've been accountable for it, and then I'll take my kid through it, okay? So educational program stuff, there's a ton of things about college career ready, there's a ton of ways we can prepare kids better with pathways, career pathways. Nashville, the whole city transformed itself by building these very clever career pathways. And it's not just our CTE programs. Their math class, their language arts, science, social studies, all are themed towards their career pathway and get them further along. Internships, externships, certifications along the way, but these pathways are not to career only. Some will go there, Jeff, yes. But they're college preparatory, so I don't make that decision for you. You stand at graduation ready to go on to an engineering degree in construction or to go into construction. Amen. There's a pathway for you, so I can talk all day long. Really, actually, don't even get me started, because Saturday Menudo Club will become Sunday Easter morning. But my calling, why I give in this way, right? I could just go be a superintendent of a district and get it done, is because there's an oppression in the system. So I was traveling for HISD, I was supervising high schools. I was off to either Nashville or Long Beach to see these career pathways that they were building, that they had done a good job with. I see a little lady reading a Billy Graham magazine through the crack in the airplane seat. And it talks about heroes for God in school. And it was a gentleman from Alabama and Barbara Cargill from Texas, actually, that were featured in the article. And I said, can I buy your magazine? She said, oh, honey, you can have it. And of course, I still have it. Because I get that thing, I start reading, and God spoke as clear as day to me. And he said, your role is to tear down the over-interpretation of separation of church and state in schools. It's a big assignment. I'm going to say it one more time. Some people now there's different language because it's a false thing. It's not even real. But it's still over-interpreted. But I'm still going to say it the way God said it to me. Your role is to tear down the over-interpretation of separation of church and state in schools. So guess what? That's a big assignment. In fact, not much scares me. I'm not scared. I know who I serve and I know where I'm going. So, and my kid will be okay. I've got her to 18 and she could be fine. And I always told her every Disney princess didn't have a mama, so you'll be just fine. Okay. I even left her a note once when I was traveling with my will. I'm like, baby, don't you ever forget, Every Disney mama didn't. They were strong, even though we know what Disney is, right? Anyway, so long story short is, I'm not scared of magic, but that is a scary assignment because it is such a thick oppression on educators. It is such a thick oppression in our schools. It is such a lie, and it has kept the secular humanism alive because this is the Satan's biggest scheme, like I said, to keep our schools. So we are shut down. Christians are probably good people, and we listen with the rules, and we follow right. Same with Republicans and conservatives. We try to do the right thing. So we sit there silent, and every other agenda sits there and preaches very loudly. You want an example? I was a principal in Spring Branch. I had 2 7th grade teachers. I hired little Ashley Cousins right out of A&M, so darling, everything good and right about the teaching profession, ready to start out. She puts a Bible verse at the bottom of her tagline on her email. We get a complaint, I have to tell her to take it off. Her partner teacher was living the lesbian lifestyle loud and out loud for my children, talking about everyone she went on, what she was doing on her dates every weekend, her new tattoo to celebrate it. It was gay central. It was an advertisement for a gay lifestyle, and I could not shut that down. One is church and state. One is culture. And we had culture running our schools, and we've had no answer and antidote through us, right? And it's Christian educators. So I had to come out of the system to come on top of the system to create policy that then pushes into the system, because I'm no longer under the policy as a board member. We create policy. So that is exactly the structure of this fight. And the fight is real. Okay, I'm going to get to your challenge here in a minute. So we are working for the ways that both God is allowed in school. And it's, y'all, this is America, and I understand we're in a pluralistic society, and I'm not there. We are not to push our Christian religion on everyone. That's not how we do it anyway, right? I never push my religion on you anyway, as when my job is to go make disciples of men. I don't do that in a way that's like beating you over the head with it as a captive audience. But I should be free, and if you and I have the same faith, we should be able to share it. And then also, things like a chaplain can go in. If you and I share a faith, I operate, if not Judeo-Christian principles and what we operate under, no matter what. And there are nations that are not even Christian nations who have figured that out. In fact, I have a friend who goes speaks into these European nations for them to understand how to run their schools under Judeo-Christian principles, and they are not Christian nations. Y'all, the area, let me keep going on. This is the only way society flourishes. It's proven, there's research. If you want a happier, healthier, more prosperous culture, under Judeo-Christian principles, it happens. So this isn't just about this isn't about proselytization. This is about the principles that make our kids healthy and whole and give them a hope in the future. So that is the battle we're in. And so when I asked Liz what kind of things would she want me to talk about, one of the things she said the election, books. So books. Whew, wow, y'all, I'm the 13th chapter year I was born in, so I'm giving my age away, right? We had a group of people that really were fighting the book battle. And one was a trustee's wife and some of her friends, and I feel like they've been kind of shut down into silence a little bit, so there's almost a vacuum of who's fighting that still. So we made some progress, but we haven't cleaned it all the way up. So I got a book, there was 2 different times where they handed copies of what was the book across the dais for us. One of them was such an incredibly, such a sensual scene about sex acts, and then you find out in the end, it's a little girl being raped by a man. Okay?
Are you talking library books?
I'm talking library books at this point. Thank you. Library books. This is library books, okay? school library books. Books in the schools, in the school libraries, okay? And classroom libraries also, because the teachers could have a collection in their room and that the kids could use as well. Whew, then there's ones with graphic novels with it is illicit, people. It's illicit, right? So then we passed some policies, we got some work done, but guess what? Those books still sit in our libraries. Some of those books still sit there because they have to be challenged, and the only people who were challenging them, the left came so hard after them, I think they just kind of stopped because they were spouses of trustees and that kind of stuff. So we have a bunch of disgusting books still in our schools. We now have the Reader Act, we have House Bill 900, we have some things about age appropriateness, but we still have to work to get the smut out. And so I thought maybe, there's a pastor in San Antonio, he spoke at an event I went to here in Houston, and I kept thinking in my heart, I need to connect with him. He has a list of 6,000 books that are not appropriate, and he goes around and just stirs school boards up. Then I ran into him in the Capitol. I've been up there a lot for school funding. And so anyway, I don't know, maybe that's something this club takes on, because you know what? Those books are attacking, okay, every community, but the Latino community, what are you about? Faith and family, right? It is an attack on family outright. It is an attack on masculinity. It's an attack on sexuality. It's an attack on family values. It's overt, and it's in the books. And I feel like a lot of them, they make the very part of what is Latino culture, like machismo, it's powerful. That's actually men being men, right? This thing is emasculating. If you see a lot of the characters in these books it's Latino characters in there. Am I right?
Oh yeah.
It's just terrible. And it's true for everyone. It's teaching kids the wrong stuff. So that's a battle that we still have made progress against, guys, but we have not won the battle. And that's something someone needs to pick the mantle up. That pastor would come speak here in a heartbeat. He'd give us his list of 6,000 books. We need the community to do it. And you know what I thought this morning as I was brushing my teeth? I want the Latino community to do it, because you know what? It sat still all this time, quiet, and I know why. I spent time in Ecuador. I volunteered there, I built latrines, and I taught English in the school in this town. And this gentleman marched out to the town, to the one-room schoolhouse, the educator. He was educated, and he was the maestro, el profesor. He came to teach everyone. You did not question him because he was the educated expert. So there was a cultural piece where the chief, and it's respectful, I love it. But it's like you don't question. And as a principal for all these years serving, every families, I understand how the different cultures work when you come to advocate for your kid. And I feel like our Latino culture feels like, oh, I'm polite and kind, but they're not pushing. And it's the biggest voice we have, y'all. It's over half our district is Latino parents. And if anyone's going to help us say family, our Latino families are some of the few hanging on to family still. There's still greater percentage of marriage. There's still families together doing family things and being family values. And so I feel like our Latino community, if it's looking for a place inside there to get started, start there. Start there, get a culture piece, grab it and run with it, and let people know you're here. You are here. And you're not sitting quiet. It's not impolite or disrespectful to question us. You should question us when we're teaching your boys, that being masculine is bad, and we're teaching people families are awful and hate yourself and hate your skin color. No, we've got to put our foot down. So when you talk about the books, I'm going to tell you we've made progress, but we're not there, and that's going to take, someone has to take up the mantle to continue that fight, push it to us, and then we'll make the right decisions. Keep those of us on the board, put us on the board that are truly fighting for God in school and Christian values and faith and freedom, okay? And then help us. What you push, we can operate on. They want to act like we're quiet out here. And that's the best thing that happened in the presidential election. They were shaming us, acting like we were these freaks who got elected on an off-year election, and then we don't represent the community's values. We're out here extremists, right? And then the big, fat, red map of this entire nation showed up, right? The biggest, fattest, reddest, beautiful American map after the election. We're not alone, guys. We're not these extremists out here. And the left knows it. They're scared to death right now. Let's put the nail in the stake of their ways of operating in our schools, and let's take our schools back and let's get freedom. And I'm going to talk about one last topic, and that's choice, school choice. I had a very interesting line to walk in this choice argument. And I've been at the Capitol a lot, and even like last week, I was like, oh, I don't really want to go to that visit in that office with that person, right? My job as a trustee of Cypress ISD is to make us the best district we can be, to be a city on a hill. And I do believe this district, just like this nation has manifest destiny, I think Cypress ISD has a manifest destiny to be a city on a hill, the first district that prototypes how we do it. No other system is positioned to do what we can do. We're the third largest in the state of Texas, and the second largest is Dallas. Actually, Dallas has some creative programming going on, but Dallas is not fighting the God fight, okay? And HIC, I worked there for 7 years. I tried my very best, and I had to go because I was asking too many questions, okay? But HIC has now had to be taken over, and well, guess what? Learning is happening now over there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, actually outcomes are changing. So good jobs, Texas. You needed to do that because it was a mess. And you see the indictment that just came down? Yeah. Yeah, those are the people I was working with. I had to be shoved to the side, set to the side. In fact, that gentleman's wife took my position of an office I created for interventions because they were trying to buy the way to things, and it didn't work out, did it? And sad, very sad for those children of those people, but you know what, crime doesn't pay. So, long story short is we're it. And we were the largest A-rated school district, remember that? The largest A-rated, which is actually quite amazing. It is a fine, fine school system, and I have a discerning eye. It is actually the finest school system. So when I push for it to be better, it's not because it's bad, and know that as taxpayers, our house values are tied to that. It's an incredibly good system. It just has to iterate with the times, and we need to let some freedom happen in our schools for religion, because it's shut down everywhere, and that's not even Cypher's fault. That's an oppression's fault that's bigger than even Cypher. But I want us to be a city on a hill, so as far as school choice, I don't want it, don't make me, I'm not a monopoly. If I'm the only thing you have, then I never have to get better. So I believe in competition, but more than that, 90%, even at the best, I don't even think it'll hit 10% out of Cypher. I'm gonna say 92% of our school system's kids are still gonna be sitting in our schools. And guess what? That's the largest mission field the United States has, and Texas has, and Cypress has, is our schools. If we can take secular humanism out and allow faith-based things in, we're going to do way more than any little homeschool, private school, other little, whatever people want to choose out. You go on. If you want to take your kid out and you don't want your kid to be salt and light in our schools, right now I can see why some families believe they can't fight the fight. Just like my UT, I mentioned my kid at UT. Guess what? It's a big fight. So I'm like, ooh, you know, like, am I big enough for that fight? Luckily, I got friends over 1 mile over in Austin, right? I know how to talk to those people. I've been up there advocating for our school district. These are the people we run with, right? And so luckily, I feel like empowered to be able to make some change over there. But I can see a person feeling like there's no way when I see that she signed up for a CR, there's classes, y'all, on every last thing that we think we're fixing in Texas. She has an option to take at UT. She had to answer a question on a quiz the other day. She's a government major now, funny enough. And she's like, Mom, read this one about Trump's tariffs. It was 100% an opinion question, and it was a true false. She either got it right or wrong, and it was 100% written. If she answered the way she believed, she would get it wrong, and she does need to make A's if she wants to go to law school, right? So it's a terrible situation. And then I ran into a young man in Patterson's office who is just graduating as a government major. I said, how did you manage that? Always having to answer against your values and principles. He said, I know, it's a big decision. Isn't that sad? The best and the brightest run off to college and they have to make decisions against their principles in order to make an A so they can get to law school. And so it's true, but in our right here, we can fix it and people will choose us. And I think that we should have any kind of thing, any other little program out there can do. Anything any charter can offer, 100% we can offer. Often that's just a smaller learning environment. Hey y'all, we have schools on this side of the district over here where I live in Copperfield, right over here that are going to be at 60-70% capacity. Take a wing, give people a space to create their own little program of their choice. Make more dual language programs. I had to fight. I took my kid, I made a choice. I drove past Lowry Elementary every single morning for all of her elementary years to take her to Pine Shadows Elementary in Spring Branch so she could be bilingual and biliterate. My kid's bilingual and biliterate. She did a dual language program. I could not have one inside there. They were not available, right? And now they just tried to shut me up a little bit. They started 2 at 2 schools. And so, but we need more, right? But my point is, whatever, let's create the programs people want. And then we don't have to worry, we can do anything better. We're so fair. And then they still have our sports, our teams, our facilities, our everything, right? So I think this choice conversation, and actually that's what came to me, 2 things while I was brushing my teeth. One was to challenge this group, maybe that's a thing you could take on and it could be really good. And you don't have to, but that just has an idea of a place to start. And then the other thing was, oh gosh, I forgot it again. Hold on, because it was so deep in my psyche that I mean, like back in my consciousness, barely rising up. What does it say right before that? About your challenge.
They want. People do what people have the programs they want.
It was around that, but it was a very new thought I had just had. Give me just a second. Let me trace my thinking back there. Choices for anything anyone wants. hate it when that happens. Because it was like so fresh and new that I hadn't even vocalized it yet, so I lost it. Okay, it'll come back to me when it matters. Maybe it wasn't a time. Maybe it's an idea for another time and another day. Exactly, as soon as I leave. But there's just ideas upon ideas. Y'all, we can win the day. We can do all of this. It's very doable. I'm putting myself before the forum process so that if I get the nod, we're not done yet. We're not even beginning to be done. We have to cement these things into policy. And I will tell you that my colleagues have been a little bamboozled by the administration. And that's rude to say, yeah, but I'm done. I'm not giving up 4 more years of my life, y'all, to go and have people be bamboozled by the fact that, oh, you don't really have to put it in policy. You can just put it in regs. It was under the Reagan administration, that guy who worked for him, there was a quote like, I know how to take anything and I know how to defeat any policy. I just put it in regulation, right? The point is that we have not cemented things solid and we've been fooled and the administration's still running too many things in my opinion. This board has to get our act together. This board has to get stronger. This board has to stand up and not be like, oh, we're weak in our weak times. I have to work now. No, we've got to cement these things and take that administration by the bull by the horns. We hired a superintendent that had the potential, and I'm being as honest as I can be with y'all. I have nothing to hide and nothing to lose. I already told you I'll die for my Savior, right? So I have nothing to hide and nothing to lose. We are not running like this superintendent could go one way or the other with us, and this current, the current way we're operating as a board is not directing him in the proper direction enough for me. And so we've got to make this board we need to be shaken up. You need to ask us every question in every forum. Ask the hard questions. Are we running this district as a board-run district with conservative principles? Or are we compromising with an administration that has always been about the districts and not about the children or the families of CFISD? And are we cementing it in policy and in ways that cannot be changed? This is not Trump's first term. Biden comes in and everything's done and erased and then you have to start again. I don't want that for Cyfair because we are called to be a city on a hill. And we will be a city on a hill. Because guess who wins the day? Guess who puts leaders in place? The government's on his shoulders. So I have zero nerves about my I just tell the truth and I will call out whatever's truth and that's all I'm called to do because I can't lose if I'm doing what my God tells me to do. So we have a lot to do still. We have won a lot of things, but we have a lot to do still and it's my privilege to do it. And I serve you all and any day call me, tell me whatever the thing is we need to do, call me. That we need to know, I need to know what you're seeing, I need to know what you want. So, and then we can all get it done together. Yes. Okay? And together is the word. Question?
I don't know if it's a question, a statement, I just would like you to address it. My grandchildren go to Reno Elementary, and the PTO there is such Karens so far left. You should know. You should realize what the PTO, the power that they have, and just what they are doing. And they're trying to destroy everything that this wonderful leader is doing. So I guess my question is how can we get more people with like mind into the PTO?
I have an idea, y'all. And it's not PTO, even though I'm a lifetime member of that. Just kidding. I say that because we went into a lounge up at the Capitol that said, Educators Lounge. We're sponsored by PTA in America. It was a leftist in there fighting everything we care about, and I knew that. And we marched in. Oh my God, it said Educators Lounge. Oh, I'm a lifetime member of the PTA. And that was what was sponsoring it. Troublemakers. But okay, one of my ideas for how to take that school under is to have Deborah and I have a reading, Deborah's working with us on reading programs. But I just think that we need to get volunteers in there to go help kids who can't read. Even at Rennell Elementary, we have plenty of kids who can't read on level. Let's just bring on light and love in there and help kids. And that's all we need to do. That's the answer to Karen's.
Now, can I say something?
Please do.
Before you go to the next subject. I have a deep passion about children and teaching them how to read. Because, you know, some people want to think that poor children cannot be taught to read. Just because they're poor. I'm vice chairman of the Poor Children of America Association, who got a damn good education, okay? I got things that I only do during the, I got cars I only drive on Thursday, okay? No brag, but fact. And what I want to say to you is, you keep talking about all these programs. You need to do one thing. You need to teach these kids how to read. The rest of that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And we also need to learn how to run a school board, how to run a district. Y'all are in charge, not them.
That's right.
Not them. Okay? They're not in charge. They are employees. You all, and I think it's because people don't believe that there's evil in the world, and they always think that everybody in certain positions are for you. They're not. They are absolutely not. You all need to take control. It's not hard. But my big thing today is this, the thing about reading. The thing about reading. You all can't take away from anything. You know, George and I have been in this fight for over 40 years. We raised 3 black boys in Cypress ISD, and Cypress ISD did not want to educate them because they wanted to play sports, because they all 3 of them looked like linebackers. And I was like, no, we're not going to have that, because you can't live with me when you're 30. And I fought every single person, these big administrators, to put my kids in algebra classes, in trigonometry classes, so that they could graduate and go to Tier 1 universities. And then once they got to the Tier 1 universities, everybody graduated in 4 years. Why was that? Because mommy doesn't pay for 5 years. And when daddy doesn't pay for ologies. But the big thing is, there's so much I saw, so many things. When you talk about the testing, testing came about about 45 years ago because black kids could not do work on college level work. That's when we found out there's a thing called homogeneous grouping and tracking. Now, we fought really hard in the 90s to get it out of Cypher. We got it out of Cypher, and somehow or another it got back in. We need to cut this mess out. Y'all can do it in one fell swoop. Stop listening to them crazy people in that front audience who can't leave this district. If this district turns A-Leaf or Aldine, some folks can't leave. You're stuck here. You better just, it's a realization, you're stuck. Then some of us can go. But it is a responsibility that God has laid on my heart, and I don't want to be bothered with this. I got other things I want to do with my life. But I am steadfast, especially after something that's recently happened to me. I am steadfast to see and work with this district and make sure these children learn to read for comprehension by the 3rd grade. We look at apartments. All these apartments going up. Why y'all think they're going up? I'm going to tell you. They're going up because the developers know that if you can't read by the 3rd grade, you will not be able to, be a person in society, a contributing member of society. You will not get married, but you'll have a bunch of kids, but we'll have all these apartments, and by the time these kids get up, they'll all be Section 8. So that's the city. I'm a mud director. I go to all the meetings. I know exactly what I'm talking about. That's the problem. We got to work together, and we got to stop fighting each other. Everybody that's in this race know who the best candidates are. Get behind them. Get behind them. Because some of these candidates don't need to be bothered with some folks. It's just things that God has laid on their hearts. Get behind the best candidates and show the district and show people that we all want the very, very best for everybody. Thank you, and I did not mean to take that much time.
There are 13,000 children who are not reading on grade level from kinder to 5th grade, y'all. 13,000. Who's signing up for that to be their kid? That's a lot of children that cannot read on grade level. And so it is a crisis. And yes, the gap, there's been an achievement gap since I started running in 2015 between black and Hispanic children and white and Asian children of at least 15 to 20 percentage points. So we could say, oh, let's make every excuse. That's called equality. That's called equity. This is equality, which each child will reach on level and above status and have the access that Deborah's talking about. And so we have a huge problem. So yes, amen, and everything you said, yes. And I hope I'm the best candidate, and if I'm not, whatever. And if I am, help me with my campaign, please. Hold on, she had a question back there. I'll correct you, John.
So I don't think you need to put down homeschoolers, just to make a point, because you can't get into my NASA wire repair program at all. Just saying.
Okay, that's actually really good.
And then my question is this, is that I have tons of friends in recruiting, and they had problems during this last administration, even getting their booth sets up. That's a national security issue. We need to actually make it to where kids get the option to join the military. Can you look into that?
Absolutely. So you're saying our job fairs at campuses or at the District 1 or both?
They had.
I'm going to give you my thing. Will you send me an email? Because that is disgusting and despicable and absolutely, anti-military stance in our job fairs is crazy.
Not even in the
I'm back to homeschooling, so I apologize. That's good, actually, giving me that feedback. Some of my best friends are homeschoolers. In fact, I just went to have, I hang out with little older ladies at my church that we play cards together, and all of them are homeschool moms. They were the OGs. These ladies are in their late 60s. They are the OG homeschool moms, and they had to do it, and they did it.
I was homeschooled, that's why.
I'm just saying, we should not have that have to be your option. I have this beautiful. In fact, I'm kind of jealous of the schedule and all the other things.
Yeah.
I think that more people are choosing it for a reason. But thank you. I never want to sound like I'm negative to that because
Yes, thank you.
we're on the backs of homeschool moms and choices on the backs of homeschool moms.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, Mark,
So,
I'll give you my card. Don't let me forget.
Yes, ma'am.
2 seconds.
so right now, they have making the choice sex education, right? That the parents the school opts the parents in, as opposed
Yes,
to.
the parent can, yes, it's not like given and then you opt out.
Right.
You opt in.
You opt in, but that expires in 2025. Yeah, and
Christine, this is her area of expertise.
we have Senator Donna Campbell's got her bill, right? And right now it's supposed to be going into the House. Representative Lacey Hull is supposed to be on this, but I never can ever pin her down as to when she's going to actually push it. A lot of bills get thrown into the hopper. Oh yeah, you want that bill up, Pat? Yeah, it's in the hopper. Oh, it's in the hopper, but they never really push it. So we really need to push getting opting in for sex education a permanent thing, so that parents don't have to keep a schedule and then opt out. All right, the school has to go there and include them in. I'm hoping the Cyfair are going to keep that as long as you can. That
We
policy.
make policies,
I know.
so thank you. Or you're asking us, I would vote to keep the policy, yes. Because parent voice, parent choice, parent rights, parents, everything. The children are the parents and we're there to partner to help them with their education. So, good question, Mark. Carrie?
So Lacey's for.
Well,
When you're getting reports
Yes.
from the school district about the kids that, what their reading levels are, for grades that take STAR, are they giving you some of that information based on STAR results?
We're using a mirror at this point. It's imperfect, but it's the only way we can get an individual, moving, live read on every kid. It was a big deal for schools to implement, but that was the only way we could go ahead and say, we know kids can't read and hold schools accountable for moving them.
So for those children that take STAR, do you use those results to determine whether or not those qualify to be tracked?
But yeah, this year, because we didn't have a mirror, we had to start somewhere, so we took kids who failed at whatever state assessment for their grade level last year was. So for STAR third up, it would be that. For the little kids, it was the measures that we send into the state for early literacy and early math. So whatever state measure was our baseline, any kid who was not on level last year, ending last year, on whatever state baseline we had, they were put on the list, then we mirrored them, and now we have a reading level, and now we check that they're moving on their reading level.
Has there ever been a discussion at the school board meeting about what the passing rate is for STAR? About what score they have to make and what that is equivalent to? And the fact that STAR scores, it is not the same rate every year. That what they do is they wait to see how all the students have performed, and then they slap them onto a bell curve.
Yeah.
And that the passing rate last year was in the 30s.
Okay, so the first reason why reading had to move out of that realm was because I can't trust those numbers either. And that's even under conservative leadership in our state, Gary, so that's a little disappointing because it is very political. 32 years in, you and I both have seen like these things run along political, like election seasons and that kind of stuff playing with our kids, and that's not acceptable. So we took this into a local measure that we could handle. And we did set goals, of course, we do have. So now the superintendent only has 3 or 4 goals, and the rest of the other stuff, he used to get credit, y'all, we don't even evaluate our superintendent properly. Get credit for having IDF closets, how many tech rooms you have, like this 40-page diatribe we just gave narrative response. So now they are literally, we've actually had a revolution with the work done with Christine on the committee, and we haven't even, like, people don't even get what a revolution it is. Now his goals are only this reading goal, math goal, college career military readiness, right, and safety, basically. So into the point, we still set ones around STAR, and look, you can never ignore it. HIC was taken over on a technicality for Wheatley High School, which I supervised before, okay? And I can tell you every reason why Wheatley isn't making it, and the state takeover it has to fix, hopefully it's fixing those things, right? So we can't ignore that, and there is another measure, and it is the thing measuring content knowledge, that kind of stuff. It's different, it's not literacy. The 32% passing, so I would love us to set our goals, and we did. We're monitoring meets, approaches, meets, and masters, and we're looking at the master's levels to continue to go up. So we're trying to say, get that more rigor there. But to me, I can only, there's attacking things in stages. So at this point, if kids can't read, they're never going to get beyond 32%. So hit the first things first, and then the next, and the next. The goal is sit there. And it's where we put our focus as a board, to Deborah and George's point. We run the district, we need to tell them what we're going to do. And so this was a step, and now the accountability of the superintendent is tied to that strategic plan.
But the math and
His goals and evaluation, and our board evaluation.
But the math and science tests don't test, that's not a basis in what is your knowledge and ability to do math, and what is your knowledge and ability to do science. It is a reading comprehension test.
Yes, that's why we have to read. And I did that as a principal in Spring Branch. We had a very low performance school. I took over and we turned the thing around, and we built our bilingual program properly so kids could access all their best. And then we built literacy, and then the rest came. It didn't matter, whatever you threw at us. We went from TAKS to TOS, to TAKS to STAR, whatever, it didn't matter, because the school had literacy now.
Because even the reading test, so I do special ed, and you give them oral administration, but you're not allowed to read the reading passage to them. Well, if they can't read the reading passage, then they're not going to be able to, do the comprehension questions. So you're failing them. You're setting them up for failure. And then are you testing a reading ability, or are you testing reading comprehension, which are two distinctly different things?
Yeah. And none of it's perfect right now. So reading ability, reading comprehension, it's just the start of where we at least track. Then guess what's going to happen? If little George is not moving, George is sitting in front of us. We see George is still a third grader at second grade, first month level, and I see he's now only at first still there. I'm going to have to figure out what's going on for George. It's going to force the system to look at every little George out there and make sure they know. And then they're going to figure out George is actually not decoding, or George is not comprehending. And then we're going to deal with George, because I'm forcing you to move George.
Right, because you're seeing a little bump right now, because we're in the second year of science and teaching reading. Yes. That's why you're seeing a little bump.
And then comprehension may be affected later. There's other factors. It's a very complicated order, but we at least, as a board, put metrics in place where we can ask the question to notice George. Yep. Okay.
Did I miss something? No. Did you have a challenge for Liz, and I missed it?
She got it. It was about these. I'm going to maybe put you, she can come back to me, but I think if our community activates around the books, if that's a passion project, I can give them 1,000 other projects if you want one. But that would be a really great one, because when they start to hear from our Latino community and hear the Latino community does not like books that are disgusting, that make like feminize men and destroy family and act against faith. I mean, we know who Latinos are, so then that'll be a really good way to start. It's very solid, it's very tangible. And more than anything, the faces that come to the dais, the families that are activated, we're not used to hearing from them. Beautiful.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Natalie, is this your phone?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay, guys, so, my girls were a product of the Katy ISD school district. One graduated in 2008, the other in 2013, and I was very lucky that I didn't have any issues, but that's years ago. I didn't start seeing the indoctrination of my girls until they got into college. We're very faith-based, so my girls started asking a lot of questions, when they turned in papers. If you went against the professor, you definitely were failing. So we kept, the method that my husband and I used were through the 4 years that both of them were in college, we saw each other once a month. Every month, either we went to them or they came to us. But we kept in contact with them for 4 years, every month. So we were able to just keep that connection, and they survived. And now I have a 4-year-old grandson. It's my only grandson, and my daughter is scared to death to put him in private school. And that's one of the main reasons I'm here fighting as well, because I didn't feel that way when I had to put my kids in public school, and I hate that she feels that way. I mean, they're paying $1,500 a month to put them in private schools right now. That's a mortgage to some people, So I'm hoping that things change by the time, he's fixing to be in school in a couple of years, so I don't know. But anyway, my next guest is actually a big advocate for KDISD. Tamara actually was a little girl in Yugoslavia. When she lived there, she actually, her biggest dream was always to become an American citizen. So she is here now. She is the Vice President of Legislation for the Republican Women's Club of Katy, and she is really in the fight. KDISD actually has early voting this Tuesday, April 22nd. So if you guys can just give a warm welcome to Tamara, she's going to talk about Katy.
Thank you, Liz. Hi. Thank you for coming here on this holy weekend.
Man.
And we're all called to serve, to protect children. That is our duty. I want to say, following the speaker, about this myth of church and state, the separation of church and state. I had the opportunity to be involved in the Blue Bonnet curriculum review. I submitted written testimony. I did a call to action where we got hundreds of people writing in support. And I had the opportunity to listen to the Texas Attorney General, head constitutional attorney, talk about this myth of separation of church and state. And the Supreme Court has ruled that this is indeed a myth. The First Amendment is freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. Okay? Right? And it says the government shall not establish a religion. Fine. Well, God is non-secular, okay? God is on our money. Like, if you don't want religion in school, if you don't want God in school, give me your money, okay? Seriously. So that is a myth, and our Declaration of Independence invokes the Creator and God 4 times. So we have to stop this myth. They're lying. But, and now in KDISD we have a plaque as you enter every single school says, "In God we trust." Love it. So, anyways, I'm a mom of 3 in KDISD fighting to remove sexually explicit books from these school libraries for 5 years. And I am attacked for it every day. I'm called a porn addict for exposing porn for kids in school libraries. So, the left is just, they're lost and they're godless. There are even books trying to target Latino children into sex and gender confusion. So right now there's a book called Queer Señora by Alex Crespo, which mocks your most beloved traditions, mocks religion, and sexualizes children. You need to go to ratedbooks.org, and they've made maps of all the school districts and the different books, banned books. Really important. This is a nationwide issue because the recommended school book lists come from the Washington, D.C.-based American Library Association. And this gets disseminated to all the mega vendors and paid mega review companies like Goodreads. And so the librarians are buying books from these recommended book lists, and they don't read the books, ever. They just trust the reviews and they put it in the library. So some of the books that I recently exposed and got removed, okay, this is, my son, it's got a smile emoji on it. It looks, and the vendors do not disclose any sexual content, okay? So the book is called Peters, and it looks like a fun, cute, graphic novel. The book has explicit sex. It has bestiality.
What?
It's absolutely shocking. It says, what to do with your dogs. Anyways, so That's one that Haters. Yes. And then another one that I found, again, just joining these pages, Instagram, like Two Moms and Books, I can't remember what it's called, or the Kitchen Table Activist on Instagram. You know, they'll give me leads on what books, and sure enough, I go to KDISD, I go to our library link, public library link, I search and we have it. And it's like, oh my gosh. Another one called Identical, which is what I think you were talking about, normalizes a father raping his 7-year-old daughter throughout the book. I mean, just normalizing it, making it like, cool. Really disgusting. Another one for kindergarten, a book called It Feels Good to Be Yourself, available to kindergarten, teaches children that they might have been born in the wrong body, says that your parents might have got it wrong when you were born because they didn't know how you feel, your doctor might have got it wrong, so you need to be brave and change your gender. I mean, that's the book, and I guarantee it's in your libraries for sure. It Feels Good to Be Yourself. K through 5 book in all school districts across the country. So this is a fight, and we got to keep going, and we need to just get familiar with your library link in your school district and start joining these Instagram pages like the Kitchen Table Activist. Go to ratedbooks.org, start looking through there, find the books and search.
Spell that, Rated Books.
Ratedbooks.org.
Rated, R-A-I.
R-A-T-E-D.
Oh, okay.
Ratedbooks.org. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So luckily right now in the Texas legislature, there are bills filed to stop the early sexualization of children in schools, which is a top GOP priority. I encourage everyone to go to the Texas GOP website and get familiar with the bills that they are prioritizing. So there's Bill HB 3160, which prohibits explicit content and online social media platforms in schools like Snapchat and Instagram, which do exploit and harm children. HB 1097 compels school district superintendents to report sex crimes to outside law enforcement. And I think this one's very important because I'll go, in KDISD school district, there was a large drug and sex trafficking ring at Cinco Ranch High School.
Yep.
While candidate James Cross, who's a candidate for our school board right now, pretending to be a conservative, but he is not, was the principal. And that got swept under the rug by him and Lance Hint to the point that the FBI had to, for years, and finally the FBI had to get involved. This man is now running for our school board, pretending to be a conservative. His daughter and him started the first Gender Sex Alliance Club at Cinco Ranch High School. And I understand, you're an ally, you're an LGBTQ parent, but this is not the type of policy we need in our schools for indoctrination. So he's definitely a liberal, wolf in sheep's clothing. So vet your candidates. Vet your candidates. Know who is truly a conservative. Now that they've lost the White House, okay, the Democrats are well mobilized to hit the local and school board elections, even if it means that they have to deceptively run as conservatives or act like conservatives. There is no such thing as a nonpartisan race. And anyone that tells you that is a liberal, okay? So, yeah. Another one is HB 1012, which makes it a criminal offense to display harmful material to a minor, which is already the law, but in schools, they kind of have a loophole. This is, again, happening in your libraries and classrooms. It's still happening at KDISD, but we have a board majority of 4 out of 7 that has really started to make progress, and they keep on the district, but the district keeps pushing back, because they're members of TASA and TASB and all these far left, associations that we need to get rid of eventually. But really get behind your conservative candidates. Another one that we have in the Texas legislature right now, HB 1655, prohibits public school employees from assisting a student with gender transitioning. And yes, this is happening. Thankfully, again, we have KDISD Board President Victor Perez, who bravely implemented the gender policy in August 2023. And Fort Bend ISD just passed it last week, thank God. So he was really ahead of the game, got attacked, slandered, and this policy prohibits gender ideology in schools, notifies parents if their child is trying to transition genders at school, and believe it or not, this policy has led to dozens of parents being notified that their child was changing genders at schools, and it's no wonder if they read some of these books, because these books are coercive, it's propaganda, and their young minds are they're not developed to stand against this. So, and that gender policy was passed with a 4-3 vote. So we supposedly have, conservatives that voted against the gender policy in KDISD, and they are not conservatives, okay? Anybody that votes against informing parents of their children in school is not a conservative. So, across Texas and in KDISD right now, we do have an attempted liberal takeover of our school districts and local elections. And these groups like Indivisible, funded by George Soros, they're partnered with in our case, the Katy area Democrats, the Democrat Socialists of America. They are very well mobilized to get into our school districts, pretending to be conservative. So this candidate, James Cross in KDISD, pretending to be wolf in sheep's clothing. His wife, Mitzi Cross, was a librarian who fought parents like me and the conservative board for years against removing porn from schools. But they say, oh, we have the policies in place to do this, and parents should have the right to choose what their kids read. And I'm literally reading these dirty books at the school board meetings, like you wouldn't believe, I know you know. It's beyond, wouldn't be allowed in a restricted movie. And then you have Mrs. Cross, the candidate's wife, coming up and saying, we have to stop the policing and banning of books. I'm like, lady, did you hear what I just read? I mean, we're talking about fellatio, like we're talking crazy. So vet your candidates, get behind your local candidates, block walk, donate, get in the fight to protect children, because it is way worse than you think. It is way worse than you think. One other thing, I was gonna say, even if you're not in KDISD, join the KDISD Matters page. We wanna increase our numbers. We post a lot of truth in there and get attacked, but it's very important. It's on Facebook, yeah. And I am open to questions, and God bless.
I was wondering, how is it that you can investigate for yourself the libraries and everything? I'm homeschooled. I've never been to any of these public schools in my life, so I don't know any of the process behind this. For somebody like me who doesn't know anything about anything, if I wanted to go investigate for myself, how could I do that?
Okay, that's a good question. You need to go to your school district website and look up instructional material or library books. Do a search on there, and they should have a public link to the whole library. So in KDISD, we go to the kdisd.org. We look up instructional material, and there's a Destiny catalog, and you can search the entire district. So you pick a school, and then you go to location, and you pick like KDISD, the whole district. And so to find the books that might be in there, some of the sources are ratedbooks.org, or on Instagram, like I said, the Kitchen Table Activist will have some books. Two Moms and Some Books have a blog. I think they're on, what's that? Substack, yeah. So that's how you would get ideas. And you can also contact me. I'll give you a whole list of books to search for. Then go to your the school library link, which will be on the district website. And
You don't physically have to go into the school. You
Never.
don't actually have to talk to an employee of KISD.
Well, how I review the books, and it took me years because I'd have to try to find the book or buy the book, but now you can sign up for a library membership at the Harris County Public Library online, step 1. Step 2, download their Libby app, which is like Kindle.
Yes.
Okay, and then I'll go in there and I'll say, okay, haters. And up pops the book and I click borrow. And it opens up, and I have a list of like 10 key terms, you know, plug your ears. You know, start with the obvious like F and S and, you know, all the other words, and they almost immediately pop up, pages and pages of it. And then that is how I'll screenshot that, and then I will email it directly to the board because I'm not playing with their 7-page book-by-book challenge. So in Katy ISD, the board said, okay, you can email the deputy superintendent and the board and say, this book is out of, it's not my job as a parent to do your job as a $1.5 billion district. I can't keep reading books at 1 in the morning to find porn in books. Like, do your job. So our board allowed me and other parents to email the deputy superintendent and the board members directly, say this book is in violation of the Reader Act, you need to remove it. I'm not doing your job, I'm not filling out a 7-page, so a lot of books have been removed that way. Because they're unlawful. I'm not a parent challenging them, you're unlawful. And I'm even writing the Attorney General saying, if they don't remove these, I want you to sue my district.
Yeah.
They are out of law, so it's ridiculous. Yes,
I just
ma'am.
wanted to make a comment about the books. I've had people ask me, how can you support these people? How can I support these people who want to ban books? Okay, I want to know who's banning a book. Cypress is banning a book. What book are they banning? The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison.
I got that one finally out, yeah.
So, are they banning the book from the school with kids who can't read anyway? Or can you still get that book at Barnes & Noble and Harris County Public Library?
For free. Yeah.
So, you're not banning a book. There are certain books. I've read The Bluest Eye. I've done reports on The Bluest Eye. And I felt like if I have to sacrifice that book in order to get the real porn out of the school, it's a sacrifice. Because if you want to read that book, you just go to Harris County Public Library, because I said, you still have a car, right? You know, don't you know where the library is? Because a lot of people don't know where the library is. I'm sorry, they just don't. Barnes & Noble, or figure it out. I think that this mess needs to be out of the schools, period. They know what it is, and I think as parents and as conservatives, we need to make them get it out. And for all of those who are out there screaming, it's like, when my granddaughter was 2 years old and she had a temper tantrum, I put her in a room and closed the door. Don't bother me. Okay? Don't bother me.
Yeah, the Bluest Eye was definitely one that I had to, it took me a year to get that one out. And again, it's not age appropriate, right? You didn't get the parents' permission to teach kids vulgar sex scenes. Like, and then, you know, the rebuttal from the left is, well, your child can read what they want to read, and my child, you can't tell what my child. Well, it's on an open shelf in a school library. You want me to put Hustler up there? Like, stop it.
Yeah.
These arguments are insane. We've had enough. If they're not age appropriate and they talk about sex all the time, it's not allowed. It's unlawful. We have to stand up and we have to get familiarized. And yes.
Hi. I've been looking at a lot of things and with Family in Congress, and they came out with this program called No to Protect program, and it shows how children are trafficked in schools. And I was wondering if that you would help probably spread awareness to that within our community, because if y'all guys look at that, DHS, Know to Protect, it is absolutely sickening. And what's going on with our kids. So I know that like even Citizens Different and Freedom attorneys are kind of involved a little bit with the trafficking of kids in our schools. And they've won one case recently, and I think it was pretty awesome. But if you could take a look at that.
I'm gonna look into more into that, but one of the cases that I want you all to look up is Courtney Litvak, who spoke at our last Republican Women's Club meeting. So she was a student at Cinco Ranch High School while James Cross was principal. She was groomed from her junior year, and there were sex traffickers getting onto campus. I mean, it's absolutely a crazy story, and once she got out of it, she ended up on Trump's Child Sex Trafficking Advisory Council with Ivanka Trump in his first term. You need to look up that story. She spoke at our meeting, and she said it was just swept under the rug. She mentioned the principal 5 times, mentioned the superintendent. I mean, this is just, they just want to have a rosy, award-winning school district, and they keep these things quiet while kids are sex trafficked in school. And thankfully, some of the bills that she worked on as a result of her story, that's why you'll see no human trafficking zone on the fences at the schools. There's been a lot of bills coming through. I want to look that up, what you talked about, for sure.
I think Jacqueline Menudo is the key point here to do something about it.
Oh, is that Betancourt's? No.
That's no trafficking zone.
Oh, okay.
Jacqueline Menudo.
Okay, yeah. So really important that, you know, we need oversight of districts. Otherwise, they just, the admin and principal, they'll sweep things under the rug. The school board is the community's voice, the parents' voice, the taxpayers' voice. You do not want teachers and principals on school boards because they are, you know, insiders to the admin, okay? Maybe a teacher, I would say yes, but a principal or administrator, or we need to have a community voice that represents parents, taxpayers, children, not administration. That's the problem. So really get involved, really get activated, and try to figure out how to find your public library link on your, we need people looking for these books. It's crazy. So thank you very much.
That meeting that you guys had, and Lindsay was there, and just going back to what she was saying, she was being sex trafficked at Cinco Ranch High School, and of course there were male students that were involved in this, but all related to the cartels. The cartels had infiltrated Cinco Ranch High School, were using the male athletes to sex traffic. So you guys need to look it up. It is absolutely insane. We'll try to put that up on our Menudo Club on Facebook. The other, so I just want to thank both ladies today because I really thought it was very important to let everyone know what's going on. The last thing I want to talk about is, I don't know about you guys, but our house has been in session now for how long, Mark? 2 months?
Too long, over 2 months, yeah.
Over 2 months. Okay, they, of course, we all know they're all being ran by all these Democrats. I have not seen to this day one bill on our freaking tax cuts. Okay? We have
the spending bills.
all spending. We have a $24 billion budget surplus. They promised us that they were going to cut our taxes through property taxes.
Right.
The session is fixing to be over very soon, and nothing.
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 Your
Nothing.
priorities are wrong, okay? Be happy because Matt McConaughey is going to be giving money for.
Yeah, so we're going to give billions of dollars to Hollywood. That's the next bill that's up. Yeah.
You know, politicians are a lot like tax collectors, or excuse me, insurance companies.
I,
business to collect premium, not pay claims.
you know, it's really crazy. So I really want to encourage everyone. I know everyone here mostly lives in like, you know, Lacey Hall's district, John Rosenthal's district, Tom Oliverson's district, Mike Schofield's district. If you don't have their numbers, I have them here for you. You need to call them. You need to pressure them that they need to pass these bills. They can't sit on that budget. Those are our taxes, guys. They have that surplus because of us. So they need to pass these bills. We need to push them. And again, if you guys need their phone numbers, I have them up here. Yes, it's just crazy. The last thing, like Mark said, they were trying to pass a bill to give Hollywood billions of dollars, and I was like, what is going on? Yeah, they wanted to, this past week, they wanted to honor Cecile Richards. I could not believe it. I was emailing, calling everyone that could, and I think the resolution was down. So thank goodness for that. All right, well, I want to thank everyone for coming here. I know it's Easter weekend, so I'm going to let everyone get back to their families. Does anyone have any questions for any of our speakers or anything? Nope. Anyone? Nope. All right, well, thank you guys for, yes, ma'am.
Talking about legislation. So on Wednesday, it's going to go to the floor.
HB 2986, presented by one of our fellow Republicans. What this bill is going to do, I don't know if you're all familiar with SLAPP law. That's SLAPP. It means if they sue me for defamation, then it is a matter of public importance, or because it's something that really happened to you, then you slap that person and automatically that person have to pay case dismissed, and they have to pay your lawyers and fees. So victims of domestic violence have been protected by the SLAPP law, because when you tell the truth, and I'm one of them, the abuser comes and sue you for defamation, and we can slap them. So my dear fellow Republican is trying to take all that away from us, and actually we, the victim, will have to pay the abuser. And fees, the lawyers and fees. And so I'll be there on Wednesday testifying. I already testified for some changes they wanted to do in this bill in 2019. And I'll be there again, and I cannot believe a Republican is doing that. Domestic abuse is a problem of silence, and if they do that to us, it's like signing up forever. It's basically burying us alive. And the abuser will keep on getting away with this. 75% of the women in prison are victims of domestic violence, and you know the rate of death in these cases is very high. So I'll be there, and if any of you want to go on Wednesday, it's going to be a long day, because typically, they're not doing the right thing. Tax cut, that gets to the floor. They're going to put, I don't know how many bills, so it's going to be a long day. Thank you very much.
Hey, Carmen, who is illustrious Republican?
Yeah.
Please.
Mano de Ayala.
Mono strikes again.
Mono strikes again. We need to find someone to primary him.
So we're talking about legislation, but I need a little help with my own personal bill. It's HB 162, the Anti-Red Flag Law Act. We have 270,000 veterans that have lost their gun rights in this country without due process. And we have something called the Disruptive Behavior Committee within the Department of Veteran Affairs that will deny a veteran due process, and also has gun grabs in there. This would actually free up a lot of veterans and give them the rights to due process here in the state of Texas. So I ask that you call Ken King's office and ask him to bring this bill to the floor to protect our veterans here in the state of Texas.
Yes, thank you.
I think everybody presented very well today. My name is Carmen Gonzalez. I just want to say I really like the presentation, and since the Menudo Club is media experience for leaders, I wanted to give a bit of my feedback. One thing, I completely missed, both of the presenters' names. and the names of the people that they were talking about. I think it was said maybe once or twice, and I kind of didn't hear it after that. So
Tamara McFarlane.
Tamara McFarlane.
Okay, and if you know anybody in KDISD, teachers, parents, friends, tell them to vote for Victor Perez.
Oh, yeah.
May
Yes. My grandkids go there. He even came to the front door.
Yes, good. Spread the word, because this is a fight, okay? And we really need to re-elect him. He's been the best school board president. Well, wonderful job, conservative school board. So re-elect him, because the opponent is the wolf in sheep's clothing liberal, James Cross.
That's good to know, because he came, he knew my son-in-law real good. Yeah, they kind of knew each other.
Victor Perez.
All right, anyone else?
I'm working for it.
Well, just
Warren?
tell them. Natalie Blasingame.
Yeah, I just want everyone to get one of Warren Howe's little push cards. They're at the door. Warren is going to be actually running for Lina Hidalgo's seat. Yes. He has just put together a presentation, and so our next Saturday Menudo Club meeting in May, he will be presenting it for us. So I'm happy to give him the time to do that. Again, thanks everyone. We'll see you next month. All right, thank you.
Are you a leader hungry for meaningful discussions and real solutions? Then the Saturday Menudo Club is calling your name. Join us every first Saturday of the month from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at various restaurants in Houston, where leaders in our community gather over delicious menudo and Mexican food. It's not just about the food, it's about the people who add flavor to the dialogue. We address crucial issues like education, commerce, government waste, family concerns, faith, crime, homelessness, and making a difference. Our gatherings feature renowned speakers who inspire us to take action, and every event is recorded for our YouTube channel and website. Get ready, the Saturday Menudo Club is coming to a restaurant near you. Connect with like-minded leaders, exchange ideas, and work together towards a brighter future. Visit SaturdayMenudoClub.com to join the club today. Remember, it's not just a meal, it's a media experience for leaders. Stay hungry, my friends. 1, 2, 3.
Ya no más!